Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Step Up's Micro PD. Well, we're not doing a Micro PD, Mighty Networks. And we're excited today to have iCEV here today to share about the great work they do. And we've got Calee and Marilyn. And one of the reasons I'm so excited you two are on the call is you do a lot of the great work that we do as far as curriculum, but this whole other sect of things to really support electives. So while we really specialize in core, we always love to partner and support your work with electives. So I'll let you take it from there.
All right, thank you, Shauna. So, yeah, as I mentioned, I'm Callie, and I have my colleague Marilyn on. We represent iCEV, and we are a comprehensive career tech ed solution for school districts, which again supports those electives, like Shauna mentioned. One of the things we really want to talk about today is some of the new updates that have happened in the Department of Education in Missouri. Marilyn and I are both former Missouri educators. We've done the instructional coaching, administrating, college and career readiness directing, teaching, like we've done all the things. So we still keep up with all things Missouri education. Specifically, we really hone in on the CTE world because that's our space now. But we really just wanted to share with Missouri districts some of the updates because we're not sure that everybody's heard of them. We're hearing that around the state that there's some confusion or it just hasn't been communicated. So we would love to help get that word out along with our solution as well. But if it's okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can go ahead and kind of just highlight some of the things that are happening in Missouri. All right, you should be seeing my screen. Is that good?
Yep.
All right, so our slogan for iCEV is that the world needs CTE. So again, we like to tailor that to our specific states. So we know now that Missouri needs CTE and navigating the new career clusters and IRC guidance. So Marilyn may jump in anytime here, but we're going to talk mostly about the IRC guidance, but we'll touch a little bit on the new career clusters for those that aren't familiar with that. And I will share this PowerPoint with you. I think I may have already shared it with you, Shauna, to share out. One of the big changes is the career clusters. So some of the career clusters have been updated. They've been switched around a little bit. And Marilyn, I'm going to let you talk just a little bit about the career clusters and the reporting on that, because I think you know the highlights a little better than I do on that.
So the career clusters, all the numbers have changed. So even if you've used career clusters and reported your CTE in the past, you do need to change it this year to the new numbers. So all the career clusters numbers have changed. So make for certain you knew that change. One thing that you can see, we do have 14 now instead of the 16 that we did have. So make for certain you make that note as well. And one part of it is some of these will go across different program codes. For example, I'm looking at the advanced manufacturing that could actually be in program code 0804, which is the skilled trades, or it could be also 1004, which is that technology, engineering, and education grant program, which is Mr. Gilbert, and the other one is Mr. Carter. One thing, as we note on here, one thing that has not been well publicized, I think, is that industrial technology can now be a career tech ed program, which would be underneath the advanced manufacturing cluster.
And for those of you who may not just be familiar with that term, industrial technology, we can refer back to the old days where we called it shop. So I know that's been something that's been on the radar of several schools that we've worked with, is adding that piece back in, maybe in addition to an ag program you already have, or just adding it as another program. I know there's a lot of Board of Educations that are kind of supporting the CTE, the skilled trades, and so that is something to note. So if you do have questions on that, we would defer to B. Wasco Gilbert. He would be the main point of contact at DESE for that on that program approval, which would open up then CTE funds for you. The other slide that we wanted to show is just this crosswalk. So as Marilyn mentioned, we kind of moved from 16 to 14 clusters, and then you can kind of see the new cluster numbers. So like in the past, when you would have reported ag as cluster 1, it's now cluster 2. So you'll just see some different changes with the current clusters and how the clusters have been, some of them have been combined, and it'll say that in this. And all of these documents are available on the DESE's webpage. The easiest way probably is to search it with Google. I just DESE's career clusters, and it'll take you right to that page. And these documents are readily available with a click. If you haven't visited DESE's webpage in the last week, it has changed. It's got a new fun update, and we'll show you that here in just a little bit as well. But that's kind of the first thing we wanted to note. And then, Marilyn, do you want to just mention the reporting with the June core data?
So yeah, with the June core data, you definitely have to report your CTE students as which cluster they go into. And please use these new numbers
I
as
believe
well
that
as the program.
the new ones, you have to use this June cycle. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
correct?
you have to use them this June cycle.
Yes. So that is an important note to make. One of the there's a little confusion with the career clusters and then with the industry recognized credentials because there's a little bit of difference on reporting on that. But we can answer some of those questions at the end or later. But that kind of goes through the career clusters and some of the changes that have happened there. The other big piece that we would like to mention is the Missouri DESE IRC guidance. So when you do go to the industry recognized credential page, and I'm going to show you that in just a second, you'll see that it's updated even from when I created this PowerPoint and grabbed a screenshot. There's a little bit of an update. It looks very similar. It's just kind of gotten a new design. But when you do go to this industry recognized credential guidance page, you will see that there are two links on the approved IRC stackable and TSA list. You'll see the new system guidance and you'll see the previous system guidance. The new system guidance, you have to use that with your kids for the class of 2029. So that is like this year's freshman, I believe, my math is correct. The previous system guidance, LEAs can use that for 26, 27, and 28 graduates, but both documents have changed. That's kind of the important thing to note. Both documents have big changes on them. So while one kind of shows the previous guidance where it had some things and from the past, there are some big changes. And even some of our CTE folks that we're visiting with have not really embraced. I would say they haven't really digested the new changes yet or seen some of them really dug in because it's quite a little bit of a document to dive into. So I think it's important that those are things to kind of take a look at. We do have some highlights on our next slide.
The main thing with that previous one is now it's broken down by the new clusters. So you have to be certain that you're doing the right clusters, IRCs and stackables.
And we will highlight that. I'll show you the clusters and what that document looks like in just a moment. The big highlights of this new guidance is that, again, what we mentioned, the new system guidance applies to the class of 2029, and it must be in place for that school year. The previous system guidance applies to classes of 26, 27, and 28, but it does have changes. Marilyn mentioned the IRCs are now shown in new clusters and subclusters. This also includes the stackables and the technical skills assessments, those TSAs for those subclusters. Some of the IRCs now have a work-based learning component. You'll see some of them may have 100 hours of work-based learning in addition to a certification exam. We have verified with the leaders at DESE that those hours can be completed over the course of the student's high school career. And there are several options that can be considered for part of that work-based learning component. It can be internships, apprenticeships, field trips, any other work-based learning, any lab that they've been doing in the classroom. So if you're in an ag classroom and they're in there welding for a little bit or an SAE project, all of that counts. So getting 100 hours over the course of a 3 or 4 year span should not be an issue. And it really is just kind of a checkbox. There's really not a tracking component with it, but it is part of that to make it considered an IRC. Now, why is this important? So you may be saying, I don't know what an IRC is. I don't know that it's important to me. The reason it's important is that fifth bullet there. IRCs are important for your MSIP 6 and the CTE certificate. So under MSIP 6, there's a college and career readiness component. Um, and it may be even called success ready students or something similar to that. I believe it used to be around page 31, I think. Marilyn can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was around that page number where that is where you get some of those points in your MSIP 6 and in your accreditation type pieces. So these are things that contribute to that and those scores. Some of the other biggest noteworthy changes. So as we have kind of gone through this list and shown, a lot of the biggest changes are in the ag education clusters. That'd be clusters 2 and 7 now. The MOASC contest. So for those of you who have ag programs, there's a lot of schools that do. The majority of them do. Contest has been the main way that they have earned an industry recognized credential for their students. Now they have an option to do some testing in the classroom instead of just contest. So there's options for all students to earn an industry recognized credential, not just a contest team. With that being said, I'd like to switch over my screen, or maybe I can just pull it over, and I'd like to show you the new website. Let me see if I can pull it over here. So if you have, that's the screen that shows you the new website. So again, it looks just a little bit different than the one that I just showed that screenshot from, but you see it's got a new cleaner update, but that is where you would find that. That is that document I clicked on. The previous one's going to look very similar. I'm going to move that out and grab the next one. And this is the document that we are referring to. So when you click on that link, you're going to see this document as well. And it gives you quite a bit of guidance here. Some of the highlights that Marilyn and I showed, they're all listed for you right here. We've just put them down into some bullet points for you. Again, it talks about MSIP 6 and some things like that. But as you go through here, you are going to see the clusters, the subclusters, and the approved exams. And we'll kind of dive into one here in just a little bit, but we just kind of wanted to show you here. Some districts sometimes just really rely on the Career Center to report these things back to them. There are things you can do on your own high school site as well to earn these and not have to just rely on your Career Center or technical center where you may be sending students to some of these programs. A lot of schools still have these same programs or parts of the program at their own high school that they could be doing something here with. So I think that's important to note as well. I'm just going to scroll down here to an ag cluster because that's one that's been highly updated. You will see that this is ag. So we're in cluster 2. It was formerly cluster 1. We're in ag business, and you'll see that there are the MOASC host site agreement, in-person and virtual. This is for ag business, so these are the contests. So those are the things that are available. There are no stackables, and I don't believe there's one TSA, and that is production ag. A TSA is a technical skill assessment. They don't really count for MSIP 6 and the CTE certificate, but they are considered pieces of this, of the credentialing process. This is one that's important. So this is the ag technology and automation. Now you will see that there are 2 options here. So there is the contest option here, but then there is also a certification exam that students can take along with that 100 hours of work-based learning. And that then can report as an IRC.
One quick correction, TSA does count towards your CTE certificate.
CTE certificate, but not MSIP, correct?
But not MSIP. And notice
Okay.
we're saying subcluster. The new terminology is subcluster, not pathway.
Correct. Thank you for the clarification, Marilyn. Marilyn had a lot more years in CTE in her previous role than I did, so she sometimes has a few more little tidbits that I may have glossed over. So that's why we make a great team in our state. So animal systems, you'll see again, there are 3 options of assessments that they can take. Actually, I think we've got 4 or 5 options, and one is the contest. So just showing you, I'm going to scroll just a little bit further. We'll show you family and consumer sciences. There's this subcluster, fashion and interiors, only has one skilled trades, they have a few. They have a few stackables, and a stackable means if you get two of the stackables under the subcluster, then that does count as an IRC, but you have to have two to count as one. Is that correct, Marilyn?
That's correct.
Okay, got that. I got that one correct. So that is kind of the list. So we just kind of wanted to highlight that for just a moment on that. I'm going to move it over the now, and then I'm going to go back to my slideshow. And now we want to talk just a little bit about our product and how we support that. Shauna, do you have any questions before we kind of move into that?
No, it's a whole new world with CTE because we focus on core. I'm like, and so thank you for doing some of the definitions of what they mean. Also, Rebecca, I'm looking at for our team with the revised DESE webpage. We need to do some support with that because I'm trying to find stuff on there. But no, I think this is great.
Yes, it has updated. And Shauna, I think one reason why it's so important and why Marilyn and I are so passionate about it, I mean, we do represent iCEV, so we do have another component on there. But again, we're retired educators in Missouri, so we still support education. And what we're noticing is either districts don't know that they're not reporting enough or they don't have the information. They're only relying on the Career Center. They're not reporting for their own buildings, and they're leaving money on the table from CTE money. So you may be leaving Perkins money on the table. We may not be reporting the correct amount to the state, which means then we're leaving state money, which then if the state doesn't have to correct reporting, they're leaving national money, federal money on the table. So it's kind of a trickle up, trickle down effect that there's money on the table. So if schools are reporting their correct CTE data, they have their CTE programs in place, then there's funding out there. There's some really great funding options for your CTE programs, such as the 50/50 grant, which enables you to upgrade some equipment or some resources at 50% reimbursed from the state. There's the enhancement grant. It's due at the end of this month. It's usually for a little bit bigger expansion items for CTE, including resources, but it might be for upgrading a piece of your shop or maybe some culinary equipment or something like that. So Marilyn and I have both written on those grants. We've both we know kind of what the allowable costs and things are. We're happy to help with that. But those are things I think sometimes when we talk about money being left on the table, that adds a little extra value as to why it's very important.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
that makes me think because there's a lot of districts that we work at, and as I'm looking at they're called subclusters, correct? As I'm
Mhm.
looking at the subclusters on that map, a lot of our districts are offering some of those as courses, and I don't think that they know that those would count, like
Mhm.
looking across and saying like, okay, is there an industry recognized credential? What programming do we have that's interior to our school, right, to access that funding?
And it's important also to note that your program has to be approved through the state. So you have to work with one of the state directors. So, the directors are listed on the DESE webpage for each of those pathway clusters. And so your program does have to be approved. So even if you were offering, let's say, an interior design course or a foods course, if your instructor is not a certified teacher, then that pathway, that um, CTE program would not be approved. Marilyn, do I have all that correct? Do you want to
You're
interject
correct.
here?
Yes, you're correct. And each program has their own requirements to get that approval.
Yes. So sometimes, in fact, I worked with a district not too long ago, and I serve on their advisory board in another capacity. So I'm serving in another capacity for them, but I was kind of letting the administration know, hey, you've got a couple of teachers that aren't certified. They have a degree, they just are not certified in that program. You're leaving money on the table for these two programs that you have kids running through here, which would be a third. You already have one approved. You need to get your other two approved. They have some funding available. They had some grants that could help those teachers take the class or two that they needed to get their a certification for that. So we were kind of advising them that would be a great way because then you could submit for 50/50 and you could get some things paid for and get some things upgraded. But because those teachers, well, we know it's such a hard It's hard right now to find teachers. That sometimes that's hard, but if you've got some funding available to help offset some of those costs for them, that's just going to help you with your district costs.
Do you, uh, what would be the easiest way for districts? I mean, is there a cheat sheet out there of courses that they could consider? Or
Marilyn, I'm
It's
gonna
just as far as the program, every area, every program has their own unique things, Shauna. Business is pretty easy. Fax has got different requirements for different pathways or subclusters now. So it just, and then skilled trades is a whole different set in health sciences. So it's really just working with those directors at the state level to understand what they need to have.
And Sean, I think the majority of your districts are going to be looking at the big three. They're going to be looking
Mhm.
at ag, fax, and business. The
Yeah.
majority of the districts we see in Missouri, even your little bitty ones that have maybe 100 students in their entire building, typically have ag, business, fax. Even if they don't have a certified teacher in it, they're still kind of offering those programs.
Hmm.
So the majority of them have one, two, or three of those. Um, Typically, you're going to see your health science, your automotive, some of your skilled trades, law enforcement, some of those type of CTE programs are going to be primarily offered at the technical centers, the career centers that schools then send to.
Okay.
So that just clarifies that just a little bit.
Yes.
But we do help schools with program approval and things like that, especially the ones that are using our product. We provide all that consulting. Of course, we do
Mhm.
that. But we also help other districts as well. I mean, and that's kind of why we're here doing this, because we know that this is going to help some districts, whether or not they use our product.
All right. Thank you.
So yeah, I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about kind of our product and why we support CTE and some of these programs that these schools offer and provide some really great resources at a pretty decent price. Also, I want to highlight that we have some Missouri specific success stories on our website. And so I'm highlighting a couple of these. They're pretty easy to find on our website, and I can provide some links if you'd like. But we do actually have Independence School District, so Independence, Missouri. Uh, he is using our product called EduThings, which is our data management platform, and he shares his success story on that. While he has taken his June core data reporting, which used to take 2 weeks, he took it down to a day and a half last year, and he double checked everything. So he's excited about seeing um, how fast that can be done this year. Now that he thinks he won't have to double check everything just by using our product. He also recently underwent an audit. What was it? Department of Civil Liberties or something like that, Maryland? Something like that.
Something like that.
He went
Yes.
through an audit just recently. It was a random audit, but he was able to use our EduThings platform as well. And he was able to pull all that data together in a day. Rather, it would have taken a week or so for them to gather what they needed. So he recently just shared that, I want to say a week or so ago. So that's pretty exciting. Of what he's doing in Independence. We do actually have some other districts utilizing our data management platform, which again, we kind of mentioned this earlier. If your data that you're reporting to the state is not correct, then you're leaving money on the table with your CTE performance, your CTE base, your Perkins money, the 50/50 grant options, and the enhancement grant options. Those are just some of the things that you could be leaving on the table if your data is not correct. Um, our EduThings product does have a cost associated with it, so it doesn't make sense for everyone. But we have, what do we have now? 7, 8 districts, Maryland,
Yeah.
now
Yes.
across the state. We've got some, I think, in almost every corner now. So that's kind of an exciting thing. We're starting to see people take advantage of that. Secondly, we have another success story from one of our ag teachers in the Kansas City area in Smithville High School, Johnny Vbrock. He talks about the certifications. So Johnny started using the certifications that we host on iCEV, which some of them are now on the approved list. Johnny was instrumental in helping us get some of those on the Missouri approved list through ag. But he saw the value in some of these certifications in addition to contest and some of the other things he was offering at his program. And he was we just shared his success story. He really talks about how having a certification is like a resume builder. In their district, they call it a market value asset because they're part of that Kauffman Foundation with that Success Ready Network, real world learning. And so they were referring to those as market value assets. And he talks about kids that have gotten jobs because of a certification that they've had, or their resume gets elevated to a top of a list because of something. So he shares a really good highlight on his successes at his district. So we just kind of wanted to highlight those. But when we talk about what a comprehensive CTE solution means, we talk about that we provide high quality instructional materials. They're all aligned to national standards. In CTE, the majority of your state alignments or your state standards are going to be aligned to national standards. So with when we say that we're aligned or we have high quality instruction materials, we're aligned to national standards, which means we're typically aligned to the state standards. If the state standards vary just a little bit, we're still going to have that content. We also host industry certifications that we host for our industry partners. The one that's highlighted on this slide is Southwest Airlines. That's one almost everyone's familiar with. We host a professional communication certification from Southwest Airlines. They own it. We host it. Their employees take it. We offer it to students. And we offer teachers to take any of our certifications as well. We host about 19 certifications. That just happens to be one of them. I'll highlight the others in just a moment and the ones that are on the new approved list. And then we briefly mentioned our data management platform with EduThings, and it really just takes you from gathering all that data for June core data and maybe some other things, advisory boards, your CTSOs, so those student organizations like FFA, FBLA, FCCLA, some of those typical student organizations where you're trying to gather that data. You want to know where the teacher's gone, where the kids are gone, what contests they've participated in, who's an officer, if they've paid their dues, if they earned a credential, did they go to whatever they are doing, it manages all that data for you as well. So it's kind of a comprehensive data platform. So we're pretty proud of it for the CTE space.
On the industry certifications, Calee, if you go back one slide, we also, if we do not host it, we do align to many of them so that the students are prepared to take their certifications. Being a former college and career director of college and career readiness, I know how expensive some of these certifications are. So if we can help your students to be successful with it, that helps your students to be able to pass it, and you're not wasting district money.
Thank you, Marilyn. I'm highlighting now the Missouri recognized credentials that are hosted on the iCEV platform. So you'll see a few industries that you may recognize. We have the American Meat Science Association, AMSA. On the approved list now is Food Safety and Science and Meat Evaluation. We have the BASF Plant Science Certification, the Ben's Floral Design, Ducks Unlimited. One thing I like to highlight with Ducks Unlimited, the Ecology Conservation and Management Certification. We have some huge success in a couple of other states with students taking this certification, working through the certification content alongside of their biology course content and their science scores just for the kids passing science courses is going up, and their EOC scores are going up. That's what we're seeing in other states. We haven't really had a good sampling of that in Missouri yet, but I just do like to share that that is something that we've got some case studies done in Florida for sure, and maybe some other states. And I did just recently attend the Interface Conference. I did a little workshop partnership with Missouri Department of Conservation, and they talked about a lot of teachers stopping by, talking about their schools were adding some kind of a conservation or ecology type science course as that third science credit. A lot of districts, everybody is bio because it's required. Usually they're going to do physical because that's usually what is there. But then that third science, when we have more kids going to trade schools or, not necessarily college bound, maybe where they're not doing chemistry or physics, or they're not all doing that and they need to offer another option. So we're starting to hear a little traction on that. At least that was kind of the case that the conservation department shared with me. Small engine, that's another one that's on the list. The two Elanco animal science and vet med applications, those are both on the list now. The equine management and evaluation from the National Horse Judging Team, that is also the contest test, the written test that's being used at National FFA for the National Contest for Horse Judging. So that's kind of exciting there. The NRCS, Fundamentals of Conservation, that's on the list. And then the SFMA Turfgrass, that's another one that is on the new approved list. So these are some of the certifications that we host that are on the approved list. Again, Marilyn mentioned we host some others, and we prep for certifications that we don't host. Some of those would be the Microsoft Office, the AAFCS for fax. A lot of the health science ones, again, a lot of those are going to be at the career and technical centers, and some of the soft skills. Southwest Airlines, that professional communication, that's like a soft skill. We do have some express employment certifications and things like that we also host. And then again, we prep for the ones that we don't host. I'm going to move that back out and go back to and this is your team. This is your Missouri team. So we've got myself. I'm considered the territory manager for Missouri and Kansas. Marilyn is the curriculum consultant. So she is my sidekick. And she again services Missouri and Kansas along with me and helps out with some of the rest of our East region team. We are considered part of the East region, even though we're kind of in the Midwest. And we have a customer engagement manager named Christy that kind of helps with setting up accounts and getting our teachers what they need. And then we have a regional director, of course, Mark. So that's kind of our team that we support. So I just wanted to highlight that. And really, that's kind of just let us know that the world needs CTE, Missouri needs CTE, and that we thank you for allowing us to share a little bit about our product and our company and a little bit about what's going on in Missouri.
Yeah. No, thank you. Those were great updates. And in the vein of initiative of looking into real world learning and competence-based learning, this is exactly uh, what is the buzz, right? And what schools need to be doing. So thank you. I think again, you've blown my mind because I've liked to live in core world. I'm like, oh boy, there's this whole other world. So I know the LEAs and curriculum people that will shoot this out to will really appreciate and that they have a go-to. So when they do have questions, they know a place that they can go. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here today.
We appreciate the opportunity to share, and we hope that we can help some schools with some funding and just be cognizant of these updates that I know sometimes they just fall through the cracks with the many hats that our administrators and teachers are wearing these days.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.